Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of Newscast in the English language on Canal de International. I'm called Morinzi at Top Stories. The streets of Yaoundé are getting dirty by the day with huge garbage heaps in every neighborhood. A situation city dwellers have described as unbearable. They say their health is at risk. Facilitating the implementation of nuclear security measures, especially during major continental football jamboree like the African Nations Cup come January next year in Cameroon. The focus of the national training session opened this day in Yaoundé. And hearts are beating and fans are getting set as the 13th edition of Canal gets a closer. October 30 is a date for Cameroonians to know the most talented artists, comedians, humorists, and many others in Cameroon. Those were major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more. The streets of Yaoundé are getting dirty with huge garbage heaps found in almost every neighborhood, a situation city dwellers have described as unbearable. They say their risk is at risk, their health is at risk. As we hear in the following story.
Unusual deviation here at the Carrefour Hotel de Paradis, Ngusu neighborhood, caused by the heap of dirt abandoned at the center of the road. Same picture here at Omnisport. This stretch of road reduced to a footpath by the green slums of West, the nation's political capital, sucked into total rubbish, nasty streets with pungent smell. For 4 good days, no agent of Izakam has passed by any of the overflowing trash cans. What could be the problem? Here they are, arms folded, tension rising, trucks packed, and activities completely grounded as the workers demand a 3-month salary payment. No money, no work is a slogan here at their base, Nkolfulu.
Ce n'est pas qu'on ne veut rien faire, mais je crois que nous sommes des humains.
It is not like we don't want to work, but I think we should be treated like humans. We cannot be generating billions and we are suffering. 3 months without salaries. Our children are home, landlords on our neck. We work day and night without salaries. What are we eating? Contacted through a phone call, one of the authorities of the hygienic enterprise, that the claims of the angry workers are legitimate, but that they are holding numerous meetings with the Yaoundé City Mayor and other administrative authorities to remedy the situation. Meantime, the inhabitants continue to decry the numerous inconveniences caused by the abandoned trash. It smells terribly. It is really disturbing. We are washers in this car wash. The dirt is gradually coming into our workplace. Dirt is filling up everywhere. The population is suffering. Many continue to wonder what will become of the capital city in the days ahead if the situation is not addressed with immediate effects.
And that was a report by Hai Sencha. Now, the development of Africa is currently being questioned 60 years after the problematic theme of the inaugural address of Professor Jean-Emmanuel Ponzi, Vice Rector of the University of Yaoundé, during the academic opening of the Pan-African Institute in Cameroon's economic city, Douala. He challenged youths to hold their destiny and to change the narratives.
Africa is the only place where for 60 years we have not been able to reach the goals. The proof is that today we are considered poor and indebted countries, whereas 50 years ago that wasn't the case.
His focus is the future of African nations. 60 years after its development, he says, is wanting in all aspects.
Acknowledge that development cannot be generated from outside. It has to be endogenous. It has to be conceived for the populations in which it takes place. And the models which we have today are models which are extroverted. It means that somebody else will bring something to you, think for you, and then for your nice looks will bring development to you. This is a very dangerous model.
While addressing students at the academic opening of the Pan-African Institute in Douala, the Vice Rector of the University of Yaoundé II, Professor Jean-Emmanuel Ponty, shares beautiful tales of Africa's wealth, but which remains underexploited and overexploited by so-called colonial masters. He thinks it's high time for Africa to fight back what rightfully belongs to them. He calls on youth to change the narrative.
Inject African studies, inject African attitude, inject the best of African civilization, and tell the people that we are the oldest civilization in the world, and therefore the set of human beings that have been confronted to solving most of problems which human beings have been confronted to. That's all.
Professor Jean-Emmanuel Ponty also frowns at the educational system, which he sees is the root cause of the problems faced by African nations in the 21st century. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization has launched the Education for Sustainable Development drive in Cameroon. This will help the government of Cameroon to implant values of sustainable development through education. More in the following story with our student journalist Usmu Kuzumi.
Initiate formal communication with the national part in a view of implementing the Education for Sustainable Development is the objective of this UNESCO Global Action Drive. Meeting at the Yaoundé Bureau this October 25th with Cameroon development stakeholders, it was an occasion to fine-tune strategies of boosting the educational sustainable development goals, promoting learning content based on natural factors.
We are talking today of education for sustainable development. It means that even though a lot of or many initiatives has been taken by the government, those initiatives will be successful if we behave in the right way, not to destroy natural factors that makes us being in a suitable environment. A
collaboration of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization with the Japanese aid, Cameroon among the 4 African countries benefiting from the initial launching of this project.
Everyone has a role to play, and it's the role of UNESCO to accompany all this mechanism now to make it happen for Cameroon, which is, as I mentioned, Cameroon is one of the 4 pilot countries on the African continent, which is one also that the initiative is starting in 10 countries worldwide, 4 of which in Africa, and 1 of them is Cameroon.
These activities will take place according to a participatory collaboration approach, punctuated and presented, which at the end is expected among many to have a world roadmap country initiative.
And young entrepreneurs in the Southwest and Littoral regions are taking part in the National Roadshow competition and are being schooled on the qualities of their projects to be sponsored or needed by the promoters. They are meeting in Douala, during which 3 out of 15 of their projects are expected to be selected for funding at the end of the competition. More with Gladys Ambo Tiba. These are products made in Cameroon. Some young entrepreneurs involved in the production and processing of these products are expected to be assisted through the National Roadshow Initiative, which has as mission to assist 50,000 entrepreneurs by 2035. At this meeting in Douala, this October 25, 2021, the entrepreneurs are sharing experiences as the promoters of the initiative are reinforcing their capacities on the quality of projects to be funded.
If we are here, it is because we want to promote products made in Cameroon.
The entrepreneurs are from different sectors with virtually the same motivation.
One of the motivation is that we cannot develop our country just by importing what we consume. and there's more value on processing. And we have found out that with somebody who sells beans, cocoa beans, 200 tons of cocoa beans, wouldn't have the benefit, the profit that will be comparable to the one who have processed 3 tons only.
But funding remains one of their main challenges.
The second difficulty is the fact that up to now, the population are not yet really in confidence with the locally made products.
According to Desiree Makang II, promoter of the initiative, 3 champions out of 15 will be selected in each region for the boot camp. That is, about 30 projects will be selected annually.
And one of Cameroon's finest architects, Théophile Moyo, is no more. The super-skilled engineer and politician succumbed to the cold hands of thirds last week, Friday, in Yaoundé, at the age of 62 after prolonged illness. It is a bitter appeal for the family after the news broke out on the passing away of the national president of the Order of Architects. Beatrice Ngamu has the rest of that story.
African tradition. The gates wide open to welcome family members, friends, sympathizers and well-wishers into the Bastos home of Théophile Moyo. His picture and littered candle beneath only adds the great architect is gone for good. The separation, very painful. Passing on of Emmanuel Moyo, younger brother and architect, also last October the 10th, must have left the elder brother, president of National Order of Architects, in shock. And he was supposed to leave the Yaoundé Social Insurance Hospital before arranging the burial of younger brother. Strong as you can dare, Ernest Moyo, under the circumstances, cannot control the deep eating pains. 2 brothers to bury.
Parmi nous, c'est lui que Dieu a choisi.
His memory, their only comfort for now, a classy, adorable senior brother, warm, generous, caring, and pillar of the Moyo family. The high-level engineer and politician bows out at the age of 62. His fine talent took him up ladder as president of the National Order of Architects. He was lecturer at the National Polytechnic School in Yaoundé, started political career as National Communications Secretary with the Cameroon Democratic Union, the CGU party, where he left to create the Citizen Movement, MOSI, a political party with a pan-Africanist ideology.
And we now talk culture. Hearts are beating and fans are getting set for the 13th edition of Canal as it gets closer. October 30 is the date for Cameroonians to know their best artists, comedians, humorists, and many more in Cameroon. Canal recognizes outstanding talent and film dedication, which has been a huge contribution to the growth of the country's rich culture. Winners of Canal will be known on Saturday, October 30, 2021. Canal is an award ceremony of Canal International Television organized every after 2 years to recognize musicians and those in the filmmaking industry in Cameroon and the African continent as a whole. Come back to that in our subsequent editions. Talk sports, facilitating the implementation of nuclear security measures, especially during major continental football jamboree like the African Cup of Nations come January next year in Cameroon. The focus of the national training session opens this day in Yaoundé. This for security forces and national sectoral actors to master the tasks and skills on how to use the different detection material for nuclear security. Haisincha completes that story.
Nuclear security is all about the protection of people, property, society, and environment from the harmful effects of ionizing radiations. With the upcoming African Nations Cup next January, Cameroon on the guard.
With maximum security conditions. Moreover, it should be noted that nuclear security is recommended by CAF and FIFA within their respective safety regulations.
The proper implementation of nuclear security measures requires the training first of responders in the use of radioactive nuclear material detection devices that will be deployed on the field during the football competition. The place of the National Training Workshop on Nuclear Security opened this Monday in Yaoundé. Important for the security forces and national sectoral actors to be abreast with the necessary skills to detect, identify and scan any radioactive substance.
The small one is weighed by the policeman or security guard at the entrance of the stadium. But then if this one detects something, we use the bigger one to identify what kind of radionuclide is trying to get inside the stadium. We have a bigger volume. We can use it before the match because we can scan the whole stadium with this one.
1 week for the participants from 12 different sectors to develop an understanding of the planning and execution of nuclear security plan in support of global security in major public events. Understanding the roles and responsibilities of the different agencies involved, among many. Organized by the International Atomic Energy Agency in collaboration with the National Radiation Protection Agency of the Ministry of Scientific Research and Innovation.
And that report brings us to the end of this edition of Newscasts in the English language on Canal International. But don't go away for half news in the French language at exactly this 9h50 with Alain Gislain Kanga. As for me, I'll be back tomorrow for another edition of News in the English language. Good night.